Colleagues, good afternoon once again. I'm Alexander Trantin. I work at Rusal and Plus, and I would like to speak about the bipolar table of principles for resolving contradictions in business, experience of practical application. I will speak about what methods we use, how we compared that with other tables, and there are more details that are available in the materials of our conference, or you can look at the recordings from the last year. I um, made a thorough presentation last year about how we formed this approach. I will first speak about the matrix itself, what characteristics it has, what are its elements. I will speak about the methods for business within the current conference. You have heard about these principles or methods. Tatiana Kalaiji, one of our yesterday speakers, she was speaking about these methods and principles to address business contradictions. And I will present three cases. We worked with different teams and organizational structures. We use bi-poly principles matrices to address and solve problems offered by teams. These are the cases that we considered during small TRIZ sessions. We sometimes organize TRIZ sessions in accordance with roadmaps based on the life cycle. You have already heard about this life cycle, but these were short sessions when we had teams coming up to us with a particular problem, and we decided to use this quick win approach to be able to get those results as quickly as possible so that we could use these results to address our issues and problems. We will be able to learn more about those examples, and these examples of the bipolar matrices use was presented yesterday by Mikhail Rubin. There was this case about the reduction of time needed to approve documents in our EDMS, Electronic Document Management System. Some general comments. You know that there are 39 characteristics in the classic matrix, but after we worked on that, after we managed to develop this, we now have 40 characteristics. Some of these characteristics directly build on those characteristics that we have in the classic matrix, but many of them, of these characteristics, are unique and they are characteristic of the business environment. So using bipolar appendices, bipolar matrices helps people who are not techie savvy, to find a characteristics that can be applied well for addressing their problems. We also use contradiction matrix, and we use 15 bipolar principles instead of 18. Mikhail Semyonovich told us about the 18 bipolar principles. Some of those principles could not be used in the business environment because they're purely technical. That is why we didn't want to invent the wheel or have this magic in there, so we wanted to have this updated, actualized 5 methods of contradiction resolution. Again, those classic matrix are more technical, while we are creating something like that because we wanted to create something really adapted, tailored to business. Let's look at the characteristics themselves. Now, the content of the current table, we we created that one based on those main stages or processes that we have in any organizations. Again,
Well,
in
in
particular,
particular,
there is this engineering
design block,
unit or
production
production
block,
unit, supply unit,
then
as well as
provision and support of some
supporting a
project.
product. So these are the
All these are
characteristics of a
characteristics of
business
business
system
system
that
that
could
can
be
be
used
applied for
for
any
any.
company. And well, we thought that these characteristics should be adequate in this table, and they are clear to people, and it's easier to choose from this list if you know the terminology. And of course, it's important to note that this table deals with market characteristics, brand loyalty, description of the market, and so this table can be used by non-professionals and people who are not aware of Altschuler's um, studies. And this presentation will be available. All of you could read it. So, bipolar principles for business. 15 of them, they are adapted for businesses, different from those that are applied for engineering. Mono principles have less inventive potential, and besides, we have a certain trend line of development with certain logics of step by step, stepwise application. The same with business. Well, sometimes they might appear very formidable, like uniqueness, universality, but working at this or that task and uh, prompt work helps with the selection of solution, and together with the heuristics that are part of the prompts that when we were aided by artificial intelligence, I will demonstrate it by examples how this works. When you may come to a solution and a number of actions is accessible, and when you adapt it for a certain business or a company. So, business principles, some of them are quite interesting. I'm not going to expand in detail. Systemic passover via structures and systemic passover transfer via action. And we came to conclusion that these are different principles, though some approaches can be in both categories. When working with operations, with their substance, their content, it's not the same as the sequence as you're working on the object. And when you get to know it in more detail in practice, you will come to the same conclusions as our developers. Let's consider some cases. A short remark. In Rusal, we have a lot of companies and specialized firms and entities that have nothing to do with aluminum production, but that they are part of holding, and some of their processes may lag behind the Rusal processes, and they are characterized by their specificity, and they have regulatory framework different and IT infrastructure different. So perhaps some things that are very typical of Rusal, they were not used in the teams that came to us with their problems. So case number one, it's about medical centers that are part of our holding, and the problem that these people came to us is how to organize the process of informing about changes in business processes when there's a large number of outsourced processes and a branch structure of medical centers. Well, we have medical centers scattered across the country with their own infrastructure and with their own subcontractors and contractors and different outsourcing landscape and director general of the whole infrastructure decided to make this process unified, and we received this problem to solve. So it's clear that in the beginning, it's not enough to have only data, and as you know, mm, from Kulakov's presentation yesterday, we are using AI to make a problem task as a something real situation. And yesterday we heard that there are two, three questions, and here AI asked me 7 questions because AI did not understand outsourcing, did not understand about processes and the structure of medical centers. And since we had specialists, they helped us answer these questions promptly. And as you know, well described and explained problem is 50% solved the problem. And again, using the recommendations proposed by AI, we formed on the base of this uh, updated situation, we formed the contradictions. So there's a solution in a centralized way with informing. Yes, we will ensure a high quality awareness and communication. But this centralized system is money consuming because you have to think of the whole architecture and to think of the resources for informing, but that's a working contradiction, and you can play with it, manipulating, using bi-poly methods. We chose a contradiction of complete informing of high quality, and also Campina 3 has a function of prompting the parameters that will be suitable for solution of contradictions. Well, if you have such prompt, this helper, why not use it? Thus, our chosen contradiction was recommended by AI to use the following parameters. Then we outlined the most characteristic conflicting couples, and the system gave us recommendation. There are several here on the right. The most popular, those mhm, uh, approaches that can be used for conflicting parameters. Actions or anti-action, self-service or use of an intermediary or agent. What is next? We have some approaches, and you can generate a solution. Of course, you can use those available resources. Then we use AI, and as you see, these are not abstract things that are recommended. AI creates a certain program of actions, and our customers coming to us with this problem may go to their executors team to implement this system. Of course, not all steps are adequate for us. For instance, AI offers all contracts with outsources in advance, but of course it's impossible for us. But informing using chatbots, it's quite possible, or using email to inform. We have this infrastructure, and so this proposal did not suit the team completely. And next approach B01, B05, sorry. And for instance, we have certain supervisor controlling outsources. So the process of informing changes, well, the supervisor uh, receives information about changes about contractors, and then he forwards this information to the interested parties, and then we have a more controlled and changeable, flexible system that can mitigate some drawbacks. So this is the case that we had with medical specialists. Case number two is a more typical characteristic for some companies, and quite relevant. So the colleague that came to us gave a detailed description of the problem, because he attended some TRIZ sessions, and we came to the conclusion that despite the available reserve of successes, you frequently face the situation when some people retire, change jobs, and when someone leaves the company, particularly a major expert, this may result in a long process for the company, and expenses when company is searching for a new specialist. And as a result, you have to distribute the certain tasks and duties between the remaining personnel. So you have to clarify the situation and the problem, choose the contradiction between the requirements, and then we use the resource available. We are helped by AI and choose from the list of recommended parameters the most suitable for a particular situation. And we had three approaches or methods: self-service or using a mediator, and the vice versa method. This method did not prove to be efficient, so we used the mediator and the self-service methods. And AI recommends not just particular proposals, but shows the whole system how to exclude the situation when we lack a particular specialist, when he is retired. And then we need to have a pool of successes of certain employees to minimize the risk and redistribute the duties. Now, this principle that's quite sensible can be used for specialists of lower grades, not only higher grades, so to redistribute the risks. And then you have systems working with talents inside. Since this year, we have an option of self-application, when a certain employee understands that he has a certain potential and capacity, he may come forward with an application and propose himself. That's a person with a strong motivation, and he may apply for this job or another job with a different function where we need a specialist. That's a simple solution, but everything simple is mm, similar to genius. Alex, you have 9 minutes left. Thank you. And HR selection for IT specialist. The next case, HR people came to us and they had problem. So when they need certain specialists and HR team is dealing with it, but in reality, HR forwarded some CVs that they found in the internet, and the sorting and selection of these CVs showed that people were selected in accordance with certain keywords, and as a result, they had situations when IT company was interested in a person, but this person was not ready to relocate, to move to another city, and some other uh, features. So this was a drawback of HR team. So the initial situation when we find contradictions and using the same scheme, we have methods that are applied for businesses. So it mm, uh, has become popular for many people when AI uh, offers you these parameters and for recommendations, there were two bipolar approaches, B15 included. Thus, again, quite detailed action plans were proposed how to introduce checklist. So there was a lot of uh, thinking about it, maybe adding some blocks to make HR work more efficient. So there was more interaction and communication between IT and HR, and with the time, the number of complaints reduced, and I did not stop receiving such complaints. So, about further steps, briefly, last year, for instance, when I spoke on business tables for solving contradictions and bipolar methods, we planned adaptation and approbation. We planned for this year, 2025, well, solving tasks in different industries for IT, for medicine, and since we have business table and with emphasis that I made on loyalty and demand on the market, so we want to go further and add to this table, considering the developed business models in contemporary situation, and to add certain elements for business model to have it very adopted for particular business task. About particular business model or an element of this model, for instance, a problem with assortment and we think that the newly adapted table will take into account the assortment, and AI will help us giving particular recommendations considering the assortment as
And there
the
will
most
be recommendations provided to consider the assortment, and these recommendations could be applicable for this area. Campino trees plus AI hybrid, and this combination really is helpful in this kind of work. That's it in a nutshell, and I'm happy to take your questions. Thank you, Alexander. You
Александр, у
have
нас есть
4 minutes to
минуты
take
для ответа на
questions.
вопросы.
A question from
Вопрос
Anton
тот же.
Korzemiaka. Do you use a
Применяете ли вы
Darrell-Mann
принцип
table,
Даррелла-Мана?
and
В чем
what is the
преимущество
advantage of the
параметров
parameters of
предложенной
this
таблицы
table versus
относительно
the
матрицы
Darrell-Mann
Даррелла-Мана?
table? Darrell-Mann table. We considered this table as one of the tables. We used to compare it with our table, our matrix. The matrix of Darrell-Mann is really good. Looking at regularity, it is very close to the original Altshuler matrix, but some of the characteristics we have in the third edition of Darrell-Mann matrix, they are far from our realities here in Russia, and maybe it cannot be universally applied for those problems that we face. And also methods, principles there are different. Yes, but the question was about the matrix. Yes, thank you.
Мгм, спасибо.
A question from
Вопрос от
Alexander Tokarev.
Александра
Alexander,
Токарева.
have you
Александр, пробовали ли
tried
описание проблемы с
to
кадровым тренером
compare
сразу
the
подать
problem for
в
the
LLM? Анализ
pool,
моноклонов и
talent
финально,
pool?
конечно, к вопросу, как
Did you
справиться.
use, have you tried LLM to address this, to solve this problem? We haven't tried. Maybe we could have had good results, but we haven't tried it, so I cannot give you any further comments on it.
Мгм. Так. Так. Александр, на мой взгляд,
Alexander,
описание проблемы можно
maybe
объяснить. Есть один
problem
момент
solving can be
информация,
enhanced. What are the
неправильная
negative
перепечатка
consequences
приводит к несвоевременной
of
рассылке информации в
untimely
электронной системе.
communication in the
Какие
system?
показатели
What
ухудшаются?
are the indicators
Это
that are
комментарий.
improved?
А что будет, если не решать
In
проблему
Campino, we
половины
can integrate
информационного
that very
спектра?
easily
Как думаете?
if there is a complex problem. Now, what happens if we don't
Да.
solve
Да.
the problem? Well, maybe it is interesting. I haven't had such an accent, such a focus, so we have this enhanced contradiction. Maybe this echoes the comment about what happens if a problem is not solved.
Мгм.
If an issue is not solved, maybe we could think of integrating that in Campino trees in some detail, but this we'll be discussing with your colleagues.
Мгм. Так, еще есть, ну, тут больше вопрос на
A comment from
хозяина
Alexander
Александра Солодкина. Вариабельность
Solodkin.
является критическим
Variability is
фактором
a critical
управления
factor for
процессами.
managing processes. For
Например,
example, the
формула
Kingman formula
Кингмана
equation
описывает влияние вариабельности.
describes
Однако в
variation,
вашей
yet in
таблице
your matrix,
характеристик
this factor is
этот
missing.
фактор
Could you
отсутствует.
comment on this?
Пожалуйста, прокомментируйте этот момент.
I am not
Я
aware of
могу
that. Yes, Alexander, I
быстро
can take
ответить.
that. There are several
Есть ответы,
responses.
два
The
вопроса
first
ответа.
one,
Первое, значит, формула
the Tigman
Кигмана, она
formula, is
касается
about speed.
скорости.
Do we have speed in
Скорость у
our
нас
characteristics,
физическая,
Alexander?
Александр.
Well, yes, in some way we have it. In some different scenarios,
Да,
we have
это
such
первое.
a characteristic
Если мы
regarding the
говорим о
variability
пути
itself.
вообще, не относительно
Regardless of
формулы
the
Кигмана, то
Kingman
вариабельность
formula
касается
equation,
любых
this
характеристик,
relates to
которые
any
присутствует
principle
в
we have
составе
and
таблицы.
any characteristic we have in the
И
matrix. Number
третье,
three is
у
that
нас эта
this
работа,
work is still in
Александр, скажем, не
progress.
закончена.
On our
И в
side,
следующем этапе и вариабельность,
variability
и
and
другие
other characteristics will be
характеристики,
used
они
in
будут
the next
использоваться.
edition. Yes,
Так,
Alexander. So
Александр,
this
видите,
has been our
просто
third launch.
сейчас
So
идет
working on the
такое
third version
шли на основе
based on
бизнес-модели
business models.
управленческого
Yes, that's
менеджмента.
correct.
Мгм.
Alexander, there is
Александр,
one more
еще
comment and
комментарий
some
есть,
more additions.
посмотришь, ответишь, возможно. Мгм.